I remember it like it was 9 years ago. In the third grade, coming back home after a long 7 hours of school, I rushed my way back to the basement only to be greeted by this. Super Smash Bros. Was my life back then. Hours upon hours of my life were dedicated to playing these amazing games. I was hooked harder than I could have possibly comprehended. It's just the entire concept of all these worlds colliding together for this one spectacular event captured my heart in a big way. I was simply in love, but also incredibly addicted. The mainline games weren't enough for me back then, and I just needed more of these games in this style. A substitute, if you will. And one day, while I was surfing through the interwebs, I stumbled upon some random website with a little game called Super Smash Flash, and my oh my was this a substitute. These games were awesome back in the day, bro. The fast-paced and chaotic action I was used to was translated near flawlessly on my computer. For those that are unaware, these games were all developed by Mechlod Gaming Inc. Created in 2003, it was a website that showed off games and animations made by Gregory Mechlod, or as his online name, Cleon9. Now, during his high school years, he learned how to effectively use Flash software to make a series of Flash games throughout 2006, mainly for school projects and the like. And as you can no doubt guess, one of them was the original Super Smash Flash, released during the build-up for Brawl, and when the latest game in the series was Super Smash Bros. Melee on the GameCube. I mean, what an era. So, how about we go and take a trip down memory lane together? This is Super Smash Flash. What you see here is pretty much what you get. Classic and Adventure mode are still here, the standard Melee mode is here, Stadium is here, existing, like always. Pretty much all of these modes play the exact same way as they did Melee. Classic is still the same, fight a bunch of people until a glove appears. Adventure mode obviously has some new areas due to Flash being Flash. And Stadium mode exists, like it always has. But I mean, get a load of this character roster though, and Jesus, it is a lot bigger than I remember. Nothing screams 2006 fan Smash roster more than including a goddamn Sonic OC. Now, just to add a layer of context, I played this game when I was relatively new to the Sonic series, so I had no idea who they even were. And seeing that I played through most of the series at this point, I got nothing. And after looking them up, still nothing. Apparently during the early stages of development, this game was meant to be a combat platformer hybrid based in the Sonic universe, featuring Blade as your playable character. Oh yeah, that's the character's name, by the way, sorry. And in the Race to the Finish minigame in Adventure mode, that Emerald Hill level was probably one of the areas that you would get to play. Never mind, that's actually really neat. Now, it's clear that Cleon9 really liked Melee, but apparently they don't like Mega Man that much because they straight up used X and just called him Mega Man. No, I'm not trying to out the poor guy, but I just find that hilarious more than anything. But to be more serious for a second, this character roster is such a time capsule. This shows that even at the time, people truly wanted characters like Sonic or Mega Man in the official games. They were iconic video game mascots, both having monumental legacies and dedicated fan bases. And it's just so funny to see these characters and their movesets in this fan-made state years before these dreams would finally become a reality. Now, just by looking at footage, you can guess that this game faced some limitations when adapting the correct gameplay style of Smash Bros. For a keyboard. But they did a better job than you'd expect, and were very clever with how they mapped everything out. If you attack while standing still, you will perform a neutral special as if you're pressing B in a game like Melee. Now, this part depends on the character, but if you attack while you're moving around, you'll do the equivalent of a neutral/dash attack. There are no up specials/recoveries, you can't grab, you can't shield. It seems to harken back to Smash 64 in terms of how it plays, but even still it manages to have that tried-and-true gameplay style more or less intact. It's fairly fast-paced and can still be quite chaotic, but in terms of how it controls during all this, I know it's trying its best, but it just doesn't cut it. These guys feel heavy, and the momentum just feels very finicky, and honestly quite slippery at times. Also, the physics of certain things seem a bit off, like it rarely feels like my attacks send people flying, and there just isn't really any level of punch or weight to them either. So these matches are more or less just a bunch of mash fests where you just mash the attack button and hope for the best. And that paired with the lack of shielding and grabbing, it honestly feels like luck if you win or not. I mean, I still find it fun, but the gameplay really just isn't 100% there. And again, like I know this game was limited in what it was able to do with that, but bottom line, it's just not that good. So, with that, my overall thoughts on this first game haven't really changed all that much. The first Super Smash Flash is a game that I can have fun with, but I just don't see myself going back to this one anytime soon anymore. The abundance of modes and a really good character roster are ultimately bogged down by the jank physics and slippery controls. However, this game was fairly well received, or at least well received enough to warrant a sequel. And with that, we enter the realm of Super Smash Flash 2, a game that really doesn't need an introduction at this point. Everyone knows it, everyone has played it, it's absolutely iconic in the realm of not just Smash-related fan games, but fan projects period. I do have a fondness for the original, but this was the game that I spent hours upon hours on back in the day. And actually, before we go on to that part, I just want to bring a couple things up about this game's development. Development of this game dates all the way back to 2007, 1 year after the release of Smash Flash 1. Despite its name, the game was intended to be a reboot and prided itself as being a much more ambitious crossover than the likes of its predecessor. A whole new team of people would be hired, and they would go on to release a bunch of demos for people to try out and see what they were working on. And when I say a bunch, I mean a bunch. Look at how many versions of this game exist. Like, god damn, it's crystal clear that the team is taking development of this game very seriously. And these demos can pretty much act like separate installments in and of themselves given just how many improvements they would go on to add. So hopefully you'll understand that for this video, I'm only going to be talking about 3, version 8, version 9, and the beta. I picked these 3 because these I think have the most substantial changes across the project's history, and I have a lot more to say about each of these individually, so I really don't feel like we should waste any more time. Let's dive straight into version 8. Now, right off the bat, there are a ton of new additions in the presentation department. We've got an animated intro, the UI has received a massive overhaul, looking a lot more sleeker and, well, finished. And oh my god, the roster! Peach, my main, DK, Wario, Black Mage from FF9, Sora from Kingdom Hearts making his debut 10 years before it make it into the real thing. Like, my god, this roster is so much better and these choices make so much more sense. But the thing that stands out the most about this roster is this little section right here. Goku, Ichigo, and Naruto's inclusions were so damn cool back then. And these inclusions, alongside Sora's inclusion, just goes to show you that people genuinely wanted these characters in the actual thing. It didn't matter how impossible or outlandish it was, they just wanted to see a character that means a lot to them shine and get the representation in the same way as Mario or Pikachu. And on that note, some of these characters have gotten redesigns, Mario having the most drastic of which, now looking as he did in Mario World. And hey, look, they actually used the correct Mega Man this time. That is the least of the changes that this version made. The footage that I'm putting in front of you is exactly what this game is. No BS, this game plays exactly like the source material. God, it feels so good to charge up your smash attack and to actually have specials worth a damn again. The items are back and are actually useful offensive tools this time. The stage lineup is great, covering a much wider variety of areas. And the tried and true smashing goodness is just as fun as it always was. One thing that I find to be interesting, however, is that some of these characters got a few moveset changes. Mario uses the Baby Luma from Galaxy as his down B, Sonic now dashes forward as his side B, And for characters like Mega Man and Sora, their movesets are almost completely different from their official ones. A majority of Mega Man's moves is still based around swapping between weapons, but the weapons in question are almost entirely different, and the ones that are in the base game are mapped differently. And for Sora, his recovery is completely different, and so is his side B. Admittedly, I think I find him more fun to play in Ultimate, but even still, it doesn't make his moveset any less cool. Wanna know what else is cool? The fact that when respawn, the characters now have their own specific platforms that they come back with. Tails comes back on the Tornado, Mega Man comes back on Rush, DK comes back on the Kong layers. Like, oh my god, this is so cute. But yeah, with all those additions aside, that's pretty much the game. A step up in every sense of the word. This is where the Super Smash Bros. Series really started to get good in my opinion. But it's still a shame that there really isn't anything else to do aside from the core fighting. But I'm one of those nerds who spend 90% of their time just playing the game against CPUs, so actually I think I might have the problem. However, the team was far from satisfied with this version, and in roughly 3 years' time, they would drop a second version that I spent hours upon hours of my 9-year-old life playing. Version 9. God, we're only on the title screen and I already have so much to say. I love this shot of the Earth. I love how clean and sleek the UI is. I love the Melee-inspired opening. And oh my god, this title screen, this title theme is so raw, I can't. In the roster, we got some new faces with the likes of Zero Suit Samus, Chibi Robo, Bomberman. Again, all picks that make total sense. Some of the returning characters have gotten a new look, more resembling how I looked like in Brawl, and you can now change the color of your character, which is something that really should have been in the first build, but even still, appreciate it. The stages have an even larger variety than they did previously, and are generally a lot more interesting. Probably my favorite stage in the game is the one based around Bomberman. I don't know, usually I hate Mario Party X stages like these, but the element of chaos here is just hectic enough to make me actually like it. But getting back on topic, the core smashing is more or less unchanged from the previous version. Not like that's a complaint or anything, there wasn't much to even fix in the previous version, and besides, the better stage selection and the character roster is enough to make me want to play this version over the previous one, but I feel like some of the charm was lost in the process, you know? It just doesn't feel as impactful or imaginative as the previous version, and god, even the characters don't respond on their own specific platforms anymore. I feel like even though this game is a step up in regards to content and presentation and production, charm and character is the one thing that this game is lacking in. Turns out I didn't have as much to say about this version as I thought I did. I mean, it's still a really fun time, but I think the reason I had so little to say about it is because of the masterpiece that we're about to talk about. Super Smash Flash 2 Beta 1.3. Released in 2017, 10 years after the project first began, the beta is easily the best of the 3 versions and is possibly one of the best fan games of all time. Yes, I did just say that. This game is the one. And out of all the games I've played for this video so far, I went back to this one the absolute most. Why? Oh, I am glad you asked. Where do I possibly begin? The menu theme is so good. It is triumphant and celebratory, but it also has this somber aura of finality to it, making me feel a bit emotional, not gonna lie. In the roster. I mean, look at the roster, man. It's so much bigger with some wild new additions. Ganondorf, Ryu, Rayman, Isaac, Crystal, Falco, Simon, Pit, Wildy, Luffy from the most overrated anime of all time, the friggin' Sandbag. And of course, the character that Sakurai wants us all to forget about, the Weege Man. This roster is absolutely insane. Like, it's a culmination of meme characters, characters that actually make sense, and characters that people actually want. It's so stupid that it's actually kind of cool. It also helps that these guys are insanely fun to play as. Returning characters play just as you'd expect them to. Characters that were previously assist trophies now feature some of those moves in their base moveset, and the completely new people are fantastic, and again, more so serve as a proof of concept on how a character like this would play in the actual thing. God, I can't get over the fact that they put in Sandbag and made their moveset actually like really good. Like how does one even come up with that? We're not entirely done with the characters though, as the costumes have seen a pretty massive overhaul, now featuring more costumes that directly reference another character. And bro, the OGs have costumes that are straight up just their NES sprites, and they look awesome, they're so cool in action, I love it, I love this game so much. Some other changes include new ally animations, kinda like Goku over here, or even new moveset changes like Dual Satellite for Mega Man's Neutral Air, or Sonic's new forward smash pulled straight out of Project M. At face value, the stages don't look to be all that different from version 9. However, you'd be surprised to find out that all of these stages have had a complete graphic overhaul. Oh yeah, they're a lot more detailed and are accompanied by some outstanding remixes, making all these stages feel very refreshing to fight on. However, we still got some new stages thrown in for good measure, and again, they're all awesome. Butter Building, Lake of Rage, Venus Lighthouse, the desk from Smash 64, all of which are fantastic in terms of layout and stage hazards. And speaking of which, similarly to Smash Bros. Ultimate, you have the option to turn off stage hazards. So that means you could technically play the best version of Pokemon Coliseum and the worst version of Bomb Factory. Look, okay, I'm a freak, I like the element of chaos, okay? Leave me alone. But the core fighting, man, it's just so much fun. The gameplay is about as fast-paced as it was in Smash 4, Smash Ultimate, and dare I say, even Melee. There is never a dull moment during battle. Things are always fast-paced, frantic, chaotic, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love this gameplay style so much. However, something that I noticed within minutes of fighting are the newly added visual effects to certain attacks. It's such a small thing, but trust me, it goes a long way to making the core fighting more flashier and further amplifies the amazing sprite work. And finally, after years of waiting, Classic Mode is finally here, alongside Event and All-Star Mode. They play the same way as you'd expect, however, it could just be me, but they're a lot more difficult than I think they should be. I noticed this the most while playing All-Star Mode. I died so many times that I had to regain my health after the second match. I just couldn't beat it, man. I remember calling quits after I died like 17 times to this matchup between the Star Fox crew. And you wanna know the funniest part about this? I played it on the easiest difficulty. Apparently this is all supposed to be easy for me. So maybe I do just suck. But like, don't curse. My god. Taking all these things into consideration, this beta is absolutely legendary. Content for days, characters for days, tons of customization, gorgeous presentation and sprite work. Like, this game just has it all. It's just so damn good, dude. And I'm absolutely furious at myself for not trying this game out sooner. Well, that's pretty much Super Smash Flash. In a flash. That was not funny. Can I just be honest for a second? I'm so happy that I made this video. Playing these games again for the first time in years was just so incredibly nostalgic. It made me feel like a 9-year-old again, coming home from school, rushing to my computer, and losing hours of my life on these games. Yeah, the first game was very rough around a lot of edges, but all 3 versions of Super Smash Flash 2 are absolute classics in my eyes, and it really just goes to show you the legacy and impact of this project. For as polished and premium as these games feel, you can 1000% tell that was all made by a fan. Everything from the sprite work, to the stages, to the characters that they included, some of which aren't even gaming related. All of it was put together with such a genuine love and passion and admiration for these franchises. And hell, Smash Flash 2 has its own modding community, its own competitive scene, and there are even fan-made roster mock-ups for a fan-made game. It's a game that happily stands on its own, and is barely acknowledged as being a fan game anymore. It's just so damn beautiful and heartwarming to see. And also, just as a bit of a reminder, this game is still being worked on. The beta footage that I used for this video, that's from this year, meaning that even 15 years later, Mr. Cleod9 and the entire SSF2 team are still looking for ways to make this game even better and to make it feel more complete. And I just can't respect that enough. That right there is the textbook definition of passionate. But regardless, Super Smash Flash as a series are among some of the most iconic fan projects of all time. They would put highly requested characters on the battlefield years before they'd be in it for real, and even if some of them are a little bit rough around the edges, it doesn't change the fact that they are made with a raw admiration for Smash and everything that represents. It's a celebration of games, of anime, of itself. And for as long as this project is in development, Mr. McLeod, I'll always be looking forward to whatever you and your insanely passionate team are cooking up.